The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, welcome to our marketing workshop. We're so excited that you guys are here. I'm Whitney White. I am Director of Marketing for North America for Intrusion. And a couple things as we get started here. We have special guest Tim Jarzenbeck here with us, and he is going to talk with us about freeze and environment solutions and things like that. So we're excited to have you, Tim. Do you want to give us a little bit of your background?
Yeah, thanks. I've covered the strategic national accounts for Johnson Controls, which is the Qualys DSC intrusion lines. Been in this business for about 22 years, so seen a lot. Actually, part of the environmental thing that came up was I got pretty surprised last year when we had a pretty bad freeze. So we'll cover that in a second. But I was ill prepared, and I'm in the business.
Yes.
So.
We are going to talk all about that. If you guys were here with us last week where we talked about the flood with Neil Jones, we're going to be doing something similar to Tim had an experience with freeze, and we're going to dive into that. First things first, if you guys will locate your go-to webinar control panel and find the chat section or the questions section, we have Mark Buckley and Neil Jones in the background answering questions for us. So if you guys will just chat in where you're from, that you can hear us okay, you can see the presentation, so I can make sure that that's working. And we have Bo here too. He just popped in and popped out. He's also in the background answering questions. You guys are quiet today. Kyle, Zach, Jim, Corey, Brian, Bobby, welcome. We're so excited that you guys are here. Now we have some repeat people too. Awesome. Okay, so you can go in there, chat your comments, questions, and we will be able to answer them and really make sure that this presentation is catered to what you guys want to know and how you want to be able to use these devices. So first, I'm going to launch a poll, and I want to know if you are currently installing PowerG flood sensors. To start, we have a couple polls. So if you will answer that, that'll give us an idea on whether or not how we'll talk about this. So, okay, we've got about a little over 50 or 60% voted, 43% yes, 50. Oh, it's shifting. It's shifting. We're about halfsies. Okay, perfect. If you are not installing the PowerG flood sensor, if you'll just comment with why, is it cost? Is it you have another solution? You don't really see a need for flood, something like that. Let us know so we can talk about those things. I'm going to close out that poll and we're going to do another one. We're going to talk, I want to know, have you installed the PowerG temperature sensor? Thank you for your comments, Zach, David, Kyle, thank you. Okay. Same thing here. If you're not installing the temperature sensors, why not? Is it you don't know anything about it? You don't have a market for it, cost, you have a different solution, whatever it is, I'd like to know so we can talk about it. Okay, we're sitting about 60% no, not installing a temperature sensor. Your guys' minds might be changed after you hear the stories today. Okay. So perfect, let's dive in. Thank you for your feedback. If anything comes to mind, you guys, that question section, comment section will be great. Okay, so first we want to talk about the water valve. As we dive into freeze and environment solutions, there's a lot of different combinations of devices that you can use, right? So water valve, we talked about last week, so we'll just kind of breeze over a little bit. The water valve, you just install directly onto your water pipes, and then it uses the clamp that you see, that middle clamp on top, and it will turn on and off the water flow to a home or a business or anything like that. It communicates using Z-Wave, and you can control it remotely, which is probably my favorite part of the water valve. So that's what I like about it. Tim, do you have anything to add there?
No.
Okay, so the next sensor we are going, or some other things to note about the IQ water valve is it's affordable. It's comparatively to other water valves on the market, it's definitely in the lower price range, which obviously is something we take into consideration, right? Easy install. Most water valves out on the market require a plumber to at least look at it or actually complete the install itself, which costs money. You have to it costs time to a dealer because you got to wait for somebody to come out. But our water valve just installs in 5 minutes or less. There is a video on YouTube with one of our technical account manager's sons installing it, and he is 5 or 6. He's right around my son's age. So that's how easy it is. We're not just saying that, it really is easy. It just requires power. Oh, I just lost power to my, can you see my presentation? What just happened?
We can't, no, Whitney.
Uh-oh.
We can see your camera, but not your presentation.
My computer unplugged. Hold on. I am like spinning in my chair and I unplugged it. Isn't that a good tech support answer? What is it, a power cycle? Is that what it's called?
I can just pull up the presentation if you want me to.
I got it. Can you see it now? Oh, I can see it. Can you see it now?
You're back in presenter mode, but we can see it. Yep. Just gonna flip your screens.
There you go. How about now?
And we have a winner.
Yes. It's not my first time messing that up, obviously. So, water valve. It's easy to install. It just requires power from a standard outlet. And yeah, it's fast, easy, and it's cost effective. What's not to love about the water valve, right? And then you do have that automatic shutdown when leak is detected. So when you use the flood sensors with it and water's detected, you can have the water valve turn off water to the house. I feel like I'm saying water a lot, but it's all about water, right? So, yeah. Do we have any questions about water valve? I don't think so. What Z-Wave chipset is it in? It's the 700 series, right?
Yeah, we've already answered it. Yeah, this uses 700 series Z-Wave.
Perfect. Okay. So now we're going to talk about the flood sensors. The PowerG flood sensors you have all the benefits of PowerG, right? So we have a few people that don't really understand why PowerG is so great. Tim, can you kind of speak to what makes PowerG better than other what's the word I'm looking for? Protocols on the market?
Well, there's several factors in the PowerG, but we really love it. And range, frequency hopping, just battery life, just you name it, everything you want as an installing company for your wireless to do, it does. Service calls, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. One of the tech guys more detail, but the PowerG is a big part of what our future will be.
Yeah, I have PowerG in my house and I've never had any issues with communication or anything like that. How does PowerG compare to a wired system? Tim, did I lose you?
No. Sorry, didn't know if you're asking the group.
Yeah. How does it compare to a wired system?
Well, everybody's having trouble finding labor right now. It's a common question. We go visit dealers and they're like, hey, any techs looking? Anybody looking for a job? And the answer typically is no, nobody good anyways. Your labor rate's way down and feel good about it. In the old days, we put up a wireless system and say a little prayer when you leave. Hopefully you didn't have trouble. But nowadays, put it up and you're good, for many years.
I haven't heard a more accurate depiction. I started in the industry I think it's about 15 years ago, and we were doing those wireless systems where you said a little prayer and left. So that's close to home. That's a really good analogy. PowerG is just, you've got the range, like you said, the reliability, because they're smarter with the battery life, is huge. The flood sensor itself, you install it just like you see in the picture here. It's got 2 little nodes in between the cap there. And when water's detected, you get an alert. You can set smart notifications and smart rules. So if you have a water valve, that's where you'd pair that with alarm.com and it'll turn it off. But I think any homeowner who's been a homeowner for any amount of time has experienced something with water. I was downstairs yesterday in our basement cleaning, and I was in our spare room downstairs, and I look up, oh my gosh, you guys, and there is a crack in the ceiling, and there's a little bit of sheetrock that had fallen down, and I push on it, and sure enough, it is water damage coming from my shower in my master bedroom. I had no idea, so I call my husband down there. We haven't cut into it yet, but I'm like, It's ironic that we're talking about water so much right now, and I now have a leak somewhere. So I'm sure I'll have a story for you shortly once I find out what's going on. But yeah, water detection's huge. And then a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is temperature detection, right? So PowerG temperature detection or detector is you can program it so that it'll send an alarm or a warning, and you can set that threshold of temperature. And it does detect really cold temperatures, freezer faults, and extreme heat. So you do have both ends of the spectrum there. And of course, you can use it with the PowerG flood and the water valve to help prevent water damage or notify of it. So really, when it comes to setting up, preventing a leak from becoming a lake or worse, a frozen pond, any kind of system that you set up and combination of devices will be huge. Dennis asks, what's the minimum water level for detecting the flood? Okay, so let's go back to that slide. Do you see those nodes, the little silver nodes in between the white cap? It's like what, 3 centimeters maybe of water? It's not much. Do you guys know? Tim, Neil, do you guys know? I don't think, it's so small. I know I might even have a flood right here, actually. And I can show you.
Yeah, it's probably a couple centimeters at most before it hits the probes.
Yeah, just the second it hits those metal probes, it's gonna send the alerts that you have set in place. So
and you can actually see it right on your screen, like where that PowerG sensor is mounted there, right there. That's how much would have to touch the probes before it to go off.
It's like nothing. It's like the first instance of water it's gonna detect. They're pretty sensitive there, and there's not a lot of space. So I don't have an exact number, but okay. Zach asked, is it an instant trigger or the standard 3-minute? I believe it's instant, isn't it?
It's an instant trigger, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Perfect, okay. I'm looking at the questions, sorry. That's what I'm like trying to go through back and forth. Okay, so let's jump into the Texas freeze. So last year, you guys will remember that we had the ice storms come through, and where temperatures, unprecedented temperatures were hitting Texas. And Tim, are you in Texas?
I live in San Antonio, yes.
Okay, perfect. So why don't I live in Utah, where it's just always freezing in the winter. But what was that experience like? You guys it was unprepared, right? Because how do you prepare?
It was pretty rough. We had 4 days at 33 or below. Okay, so for us, that's pretty cold. Our houses weren't designed for it. Our city services, utilities weren't ready for it. The power company basically had to cycle power. Then eventually they had some substations that just went out, which caused our water to go out. So we had 4 days of basically no power, no water. And when you have no flowing water, no power in these homes that are not real heavily insulated, we had tons of busted pipes. When everything finally came back on, I mean, everybody's garage, those copper pipes in all their garages were leaking. We run around the street trying to cut them off at the street. I wish we had, water valves and those things. We could cut them off a little easier, but some of us do now. So we weren't prepared for some of these things, right? It's a great thing to think about when you're out there selling. And another thing I didn't have, I do have a gas fireplace. It's more ornamental, but we had to use it because we didn't have anything else. And I didn't have a carbon monoxide detector in my house because we used the gas fireplace once every 5 years, right? So we thought about it, but I hardly slept that night because I didn't have a carbon monoxide detector there. I was worried about the kiddos and everything else. So live and learn. It was pretty rough experience when everything came back on, and then you couldn't find plumbers, couldn't find parts, couldn't find pieces. I learned how to solder and sweat pipe pretty quick and helped out some orders and things like that. But yeah, some of these devices now are if they've been through this freeze, you could probably sell them some devices, right?
Yeah, we mentioned it last week where it's these devices, the freeze, the flood, or I'm sorry, the temperature, the flood, and the water valve are kind of those devices that you don't know you want until you have a story to go with it, And it's wild that as a homeowner, I don't really even think about it. You know what I mean? I almost need somebody else to point out the holes in my home to be like, well, you're not, you have a gas fireplace, you probably want a carbon monoxide, or my basement, You know, like the water, we've had a water heater explode before, but it wasn't until I was a homeowner that we experienced that we went, oh, we need to act a little bit smarter, a little more strategic, right? And I think that's where, as dealers, we can walk in and be like, hey, here's what you don't know. You don't know till you know it, right? And I think that we can do a better job explaining to these customers, like, I realize that a freeze situation may not be applicable in every scenario, but man, you want to talk about what happened in Texas in 2021. They weren't prepared for it either, right? Tim, like in your case, but now you sure are. Would you rather be stuck in a situation where if it happens, you're prepared versus having that experience and now you don't live without it? Right? What kind of customer base do you want to build and what kind of customers do you have? Neil talked last week where he did have some of those things set in place, and it helped in his flood situation where he was notified pretty quick. So the damage was still costly, but it definitely wasn't what it would have been. And I think that's where we kind of sometimes miss the mark on these devices. And there's multiple weak points in a home or in a business or anything like that. Water, I mean, you've got under sinks, water heaters, dishwashers, washing machines, sump pumps that Neil's experienced, right? And I mean, I don't think about all those places, you know. Tim, did you have tons of damage?
I didn't. I just had it in the garage. I was home. The left like day 2 or 3 because power wasn't out all over. It was spotted. It was gridded. Some people went to friends with the family and they left their water on and such. So when that water came back on, they were away. And the ones who had the lines that busted inside the wall, like especially like these north-facing walls and these 2-story houses, they've had extensive damage. I was home, my water at the curb, I was able to do it. But if that's why I said the water valve, and some of the neighbors did take advantage of it now. But without telling them, they wouldn't even have known that existed. So the scenario could have been, hey, if you got to leave real quick, you're going to go to a friend, family, neighbor, whatever, something you don't want to stay at home, go to your alarm.com app, hit the water valve, shut everything off for a couple of days, and when you come back, when you turn it on, at least you'll be home, right? You don't want it back on like it did when nobody was home. That's what caused most of the damage, the people who weren't home.
The thing that's crazy is you really can't prepare or predict something like that. I don't remember hearing about the freeze coming through until it was already there. It's almost like nobody knew it was going to be a problem until it was. Was that kind of what it was like for you?
Yeah, it was. Like I said, we were ill prepared. Myself, I was ill prepared, and like talking in sales, right? We talked to some of the neighbors and such. They've taken advantage of some of these items. They didn't know they were out there, never thought they'd need them, but you got to at least show them to have them think about it.
So in your experience, if you were selling your neighbor now, what kinds of things would you talk about, or how would you change your stance? Would you?
Yes, well, I can tell the story, right? That helps sometimes. You can visualize it, and they've been through it, so it's not that hard of a sale, really. But the water shutoff is key. Like I said, the ones who had the most damage are the ones that weren't at home when that water finally came back on.
Yeah.
Things started thawing out. Low sensors, if it gets below a certain temperature, I'm sure they want to know. That would be crucial to maybe making a decision on coming back home earlier, right?
Yeah.
There's, like I said, in my case, carbon monoxide, I can't believe I didn't have those. I do now, but just the things that we learned, right?
Yeah, and it really does only take one experience where you kind of changes your whole stance on it, right? You've got, I think these devices, they're really easy sales in my opinion, because once you point out the weak points and you do have that story and you do have the experience of being like, okay, I heard a story about Tim who's out in Texas and they weren't prepared, and here we are in Utah, that could easily happen. California, it's probably a little more tricky that would happen, but a flood, you bet that would happen there, right? That would happen anywhere. And you can really take these devices and put custom packages together, right? Maybe you only want to do flood detection because your customer is only really concerned with flood detection. And you as a dealer, between you and me, you can install at minimum 5 flood detectors in a normal sized home just by the weak points that exist, right? Then you want to add in a water valve because they want that added protection, or maybe they have had an experience with flooding like I have, right? And then the freeze or temperature detectors. I've got a cold storage in my basement downstairs. I'd love to have a freeze or a temperature detector. Wow, temperature detector down there, so I can know. Okay, Zach asked, don't need a delay, just used to the delay. Now that, okay, so you're talking about having a delay on the instant trigger on the flood. Okay, so it does bring up the question, does it have the option of turning a delay on? Can you turn on a setting for the flood sensor for a delay? I don't know.
I don't believe so currently, but it is something that we're actually already looking at as a delayed. I mean, there's a dialer delay that's built into the panel, but that's it.
Got it. Perfect. So you guys, we do have a handout. If you go to your GoToWebinar control panel and click on the handout section on the arrow, we have a flyer there that speaks a little bit to the Texas freeze, and it does headline IQ Panel 4 with IQ Water Valve, IQ Flood, and the temperature detectors from PowerG. And it does talk about each of those individual devices. So if you want a little more education, want to know those product numbers, they are all listed there on that flyer. And hopefully that kind of helps where you're at. Tim, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. That is like a worst case scenario, right?
Well, like I said, we made some friends out of it and helped some neighbors out, and so it worked out and sold some parts. But yeah, I don't really want to go through it again.
The kind of silver lining is you are an advocate of those devices, right? Like nobody's going to make a better company advocate or spokesperson than someone has a story, right? Nobody wants to be that person, but man, it's tough. Okay, well, I don't think we have any other questions, and we've got a few more minutes. So if you guys have anything, throw it into chat. Otherwise, we are looking forward to March 22nd, ISC West. We want to know if you're coming. We're going to be there. Oops, I closed that poll really fast. Oh, dang it, I can't launch it again. Okay, if you will put it in the notes, if you're coming to ISC West, we want to know because we want to meet with you. We're going to have a bunch of sales staff there. We want to make sure that your sales manager has an opportunity to know that you're coming and be able to talk to you one-on-one if you need that. And we can walk you through all of our offerings, what's new, what's coming, what's already here. And yeah, so throw in the chat whether or not you're coming to ISC West in Las Vegas. I can't believe I closed that poll. That's what happens. I get moving too fast, talking too fast, clicking too fast. I open it and then I close it right away. I don't know what I'm doing.
So
Hey,
Whitney, if I can chime in real quick just before we close. So Whitney touched on the point of building kind of these packages, right? These flood and freeze packages. And I think that's a really powerful thing to do. I'm Bo, by the way, probably haven't formally introduced myself. I work in the dealer marketing. If you guys are interested in building, packages like that, or would need marketing materials or support in any way, shape, or form to kind of help build that, I would love to help you do that. So I will reach out or put my email here in the questions. And if you would like to build anything, please reach out to me and we can do that.
Okay, my audio cut out, so I didn't hear any of that. Did anybody else have audio?
Nope. We didn't get it either.
No audio.
Am I the only one? Because no one's putting it in the chat. Okay.
Oh no.
Whoa. There
Can
you
hear
are.
Me now?
Yes. Please repeat everything you said.
That's super strange. So I was just mentioning how Whitney had talked about kind of building those packages built around flood and freeze. And I just wanted to say that if you guys are interested in doing something like that and would like to build some marketing materials, maybe a flyer, any sort of promotional material like that, I would love to help you do that. Should I put my email in the chat or in the questions? Which way will they be able to see it all, Neil? Is it in the chat?
Put it in chat, and Whitney, I just created your poll again for you, so you can actually launch it this time.
Thank you.
So if you need anything,
don't close it right away.
I know. Bo, you guys, is the man. When it comes to intrusion, he's the guy. Intrusion marketing, he's going to be your best friend. Any of the flyers that you see on the dealer portal, the flyer that we attached today, even this presentation, Bo can work with you, rebrand it. If you need ideas or suggestions on how to go to market, we're more than happy to sit down with you and talk through your particular business model, what your hurdles are, and where you want to go. We're happy to help. We're definitely partners, not just manufacturers and let you go, right? We want to help with that. So thank you, Bo. Thank you for repeating it. I should have spoke up sooner. I just thought it was me. Okay.
I was switching my headset, thought my headset died.
And I was like, it's so quiet. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna launch the poll. I want to know if you're coming to ISC West. I don't have our booth number memorized right now, but I will make sure we have it for next time. As you guys get our emails and things like that coming out, you'll see all the information for ISC West there. Gosh, it looks like a lot of you guys aren't going. Bummer. You know what though? COVID is real. So if you're worried about anything like that, I get it, 100%. Perfect. Well, if you guys want to set up a sales meeting or if you're interested in talking further, just enter it into the chat section, the question section, and Bo can reach out, or you can email him directly and he should have that in there. So perfect. We don't have any other questions, so I think we can end here. You guys, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you being here. Hopefully these are helpful to you. So we will see you next time. Thank you.